Hi, I'm Ella Dixon, and I play Marissa on Under the Bridge on Hulu. Be sure to watch Pop Culture with Pat. Good channel.
Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Culture with Pat. So I'm very excited to be joined by today's guests. Today I am talking to Ella Dixon, who plays Marissa in Hulu's Under the Bridge series. Thank you so much for joining me today, Ella.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. This is great.
You are very welcome. Yeah, I'm very excited to talk to you about the series, just everything that I've seen so far. I'm absolutely loving the show. A lot of twists and turns and stuff
Yeah.
like that. To kind of start things off for you, what was it about the project, the role that kind of drew you to it initially? And can you talk a little bit about your audition?
Yeah, I mean, I got it as a self-tape. So it was just an audition. I got like I think it was 6 pages of sides, and I just remember reading it and noticing how grounded the dialogue was and just the writing itself. And because it's teenagers, right? So sometimes, especially if it's true crime, it can be very sort of glorified and sort of almost superficial, but this script was so specific and honest and empathetic from the start. I was like, oh wow, if I have a chance to work on this would be great. But I just did it, and fingers crossed. And 2 weeks later, I got a call. So very lucky.
Yeah, I feel like you were saying with the teenagers, I just feel like the way that you guys act, the dialogue and everything was just very authentic. It didn't feel like you were necessarily watching like a show or watching a movie where you kind of can pull you out of it maybe a little bit. So I think that's probably one of my favorite aspects. All of you guys, great performances, on the series so far.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. I'm very proud of everyone. We all had a lot of fun doing it. So.
And so you said it was a self tape. So you didn't. I was going to ask you, like, because I know sometimes with series or even movies that sometimes you can audition for multiple roles. So was it always Marissa? There wasn't like you didn't audition for any of the other characters, or
Yeah, I believe it was just Marissa. I think it was Marissa initially, and there were options for two characters who I believe got cut.
okay,
But yeah, it was Marissa's lines.
gotcha. Okay, yeah. So it's like I said, I've talked to other people where it's like sometimes they go out. You guys go out for like multiple roles, and then they kind of
Right, right.
fit you
Yeah.
guys wherever they feel like you fit best. Were you familiar with Rebecca Godfrey's initial book before getting cast in the role, or is that something did you get a chance to jump into it afterwards?
No, I wasn't familiar with it, and I actually I didn't know about the incident either, and the story of Reena. So it was really interesting. As soon as I got cast, like I took a deep dive and I read as much as I could, and including Rebecca's book, which was just incredible. And I think, the way that she approached it with such empathy and honesty, and really tried to flesh out everybody. Like it wasn't just like a set protagonist, a set antagonist, and this is the perspective. It was really just trying to paint a story of human beings, and I think that was what was really interesting to me, and that's carried over to the show. So credit to Quinn and Samir, the showrunners, for doing that.
Oh yeah, the relationships between all the different characters, like you said, I found very interesting so far from what I've gotten to see. The first it's like 3 episodes that I think that are out right now, and it's just it's just crazy how they kind of you think like where the relationships are at when you first meet some of these characters, but then start peeling back different layers and those relationships evolve. So it's very very exciting, tense series so far.
Definitely.
What kind of description did you get? Do you remember initially for Marissa? How were you able to kind of get into the mindset of the character?
Well, I think in terms of the mindset, like just Marissa's a character. I'm walking a very thin line between being a loyal friend and being a good person, right? And I
Yeah.
feel like that's sort of a universal thing for everybody in the show of like the sort of moral compass is swaying a little bit, and like what's the right thing to do in every situation. And so I think for approaching that character, it was really about justifying and approaching her with as much curiosity as possible and as little judgment as possible. Because I think, as soon as you judge your character, you're done for. Like there's no way you can portray them accurately. And especially knowing that she's a real person as well, just sort of that added layer of responsibility was really important.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, it's definitely a tough line to walk. I know I just saw the scene, one of the scenes that you're probably like referring to in
Mhm.
episode 3, where you guys are having kind of that conversation in the
Yeah.
hallway. Did amazing, from everything that I've seen, from you so far. But I know what you mean as far as just like with the characters, you have to be on their side because, like you said, if you go into it with any kind of like judgment, it's like, all right.
Yeah, no. And that's the great thing too about art, I think, is it facilitates empathy, right? And artists as well. Like I think coming out of it, I'm now very aware of how important it is to be, not judgmental towards other people. And yeah, it's a great process.
How were you able to relate to her, I guess, like personally, and were there any aspects of playing this character that maybe challenged you more? You kind of hinted at, I guess, like being able to like walk that line, but was there any other aspects that you found challenging?
I mean, I think we all like it being a period piece in the 90s, right? Like sometimes, props would come in with a pager and you'd be like, what is that? So like, trying to acclimate to that world and really be natural with all the props was a big thing. I know like we smoke a lot and a lot of us like had never smoked before, so they had to teach us how to smoke. It's like, little practical things like that were just kind of funny, but yeah, it was fun.
And with the series, speaking of like the 90s, with the series taking place, during that era, what did you kind of do to familiarize yourself with the 90s? And what are some of your favorite things about the area? That's when I grew up. I was born in 1990, so
Right.
it was cool watching the series, just kind of seeing, the different little things here and there, the props, like you were saying. So yeah, can you just talk a little bit about that?
I mean, I've always loved 90s music. Like I listen to the Cranberries all the time.
Oh, great
Tupac, I'm a
choice.
big fan now. The Verve, London Suede, like that was already sort of part of my music vocabulary. But I mean the fashion too. Like I wear my Docs every day. Like I'm a big fan of combat boots. But yeah, I think just sort of leaning into that. I make character playlists. Just sort of music was a big thing, big help for sure.
Yeah, as I say, after, watching the series, I feel like it would, like, if you weren't a Biggie fan, prior to this, I feel like it would be hard not to be with, with the use of Biggie in the series, for sure. But some of the other ones you mentioned, like the Cranberries, I love their stuff as well. So those are some good choices. Now, as far as Marissa goes, like you said, you do make like some like character playlists and stuff like
Yeah.
that. What would you say that she would like when it comes to movies or music from the 90s?
I mean, definitely Spice Girls. Like
Right.
hands down Spice Girls. She's big baby Spice. She's baby Spice. Like, let's
Yeah.
face it. Um, but I think like Clueless, Friends, like anything with like a rom-com kind of fun sitcom vibe. Yeah, she's down.
I could totally see that. And yeah, as I say, I feel like almost can't not say the Spice Girls with the influence that they had in the
Yeah,
90s.
yeah. No, it's pretty big.
And I love that you had a specific, Spice Girl picked out for her, like even as well, just going that that extra mile with the character. You guys had, an amazing cast like for the series. Like I said, everything that I've seen from you guys, and some of the different actors on the series. It's like my first time getting to catch some of their work, so I can't wait to see what's gonna in the future. But can you just talk a little bit about what it was, working with everyone, on the series, like overall, and just like what are some of your favorite memories?
It was really great experience. I think, anytime that we were all together, like there were a couple party scenes in one and two, and those were very long days, but we all support each other so much. And, we're all around the same age. So like we would make up raps and we sang Barbie Girl for like 30 minutes and annoyed everybody. It was great. We would go thrifting. We had a group chat. So like just it was a lot of us supporting each other and just being there when it got heavier.
Now is yeah, and I think that's like really important, especially with with the series and the material that you guys are dealing with.
Mhm.
Um, Now with this series, I guess like have you prior to working on it, have you gotten to work with anybody like on the cast like so far in your career, or was this kind of like first time meeting all of them?
Yeah, no, it was the first time meeting all of them. I think we had rehearsals a lot for the first episode, and I met them. I met most of the cast at a rehearsal.
Yeah,
So it was nice that we kind of got that time to get to know each other before diving in.
yeah.
But yeah, no, we all were just fresh out of the gates, like, oh hi, I'm Ella. But yeah, it was a good time.
But that's cool too, because like, working on these different projects, you never know, like meeting someone, getting to work with them, you know, some of these relationships, they could last, like a lifetime and hopefully you get to work with some of these guys, maybe like in the future on another series or a
For
film.
sure.
I'm curious, what's your relationship with the true crime genre like overall? Is it something, do you, watch the different series, movies, read any books from it, or is it not something that you usually kind of get into?
I mean, I don't usually read or watch a lot of true crime. I watched Under the Banner of Heaven when it came out with Andrew Garfield, and I
Yeah.
thought that was really well done. But I feel like for me, I get scared pretty easily. I'm not gonna lie. But especially with true crime, I think, it's very easy to fall into the trap of glorifying the crime or focusing on the murderer or just painting the victim as like someone who was killed and not as an actual human being.
Yeah.
And I think, with this show, one of the things that made me so excited to be on it and so proud to be a part of it is that we focused on everybody as human beings. And it
Mhm.
wasn't just about the murder and it wasn't just about Reena as this girl who was tragically killed. It was about Reena as a human being and her relationships and, what she was going through. So yeah, I'm very glad that it was taken in that direction.
Yeah, it was definitely handled with care, which I think is important, especially when you're dealing with something that, actually, happened to someone. But yeah, I was very curious because I know there was like a period, I don't know if it's like still kind of that way, but I know there was a period where like true crime, especially like on Netflix and stuff like that was like the thing. There was a bunch of series just, kind of getting like pumped out every like couple months it seemed like or whatever. So, but I can understand not wanting to necessarily also watch them just because where it's like this stuff has actually happened compared to if you're watching like a fantasy show or
Right.
movie or something like that where you can kind of like step away from it and you're like, oh well, this none of this is gonna like happen. So I can understand being a little scared when it comes to that. I'm on your side with that. What do you hope for audience? What do you hope audiences, especially like younger audiences, kind of take away from watching a series like this where there's a big focus on the youth of this town?
I think, just facilitating conversations, really sort of leading with empathy. I think that's the main thing. And if people can walk away with sort of a better understanding that their actions do impact people, and actions do have consequences, even if we can't see them. I think, yeah, that's a really big thing. Just understanding that everyone is going through something, everybody's a little insecure, and just to lead with kindness.
Is there anything else just to kind of wrap things up, Ella, to wrap things up as far as like that you want to say about working on the series and where can fans just kind of keep up with you with all your future projects?
Yeah, I mean, I think this series it's so beautifully done and everyone gave their heart and soul to it. And I can speak for myself and I'm pretty sure I can speak for the entire cast and crew and I say we're all very proud to have been a part of this. And yeah, it's streaming on Hulu, out every Wednesday. So check that out. But yeah, no, just as for me, I'm working on a couple other things, so stay tuned.
Perfect. And
Yeah.
are you on like Instagram and stuff where like
Oh
people can
yes, I am on Instagram.
follow?
Ella M. Dixon.
Awesome. And
So
I'll make sure like once the video's up to put like that down in the descriptions. That way people can give you a follow. And
cool.
yeah, too. I love how the series is a week by week thing because as much as I love streaming sometimes, I guess like a little bit like old school when it comes to that
Right.
stuff. Like having the conversation of episodes getting released week by week and just being able to break down the show and LA, yeah, you and the rest of the crew, you guys should be very proud of the series so far, and I can't wait to see what's next for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Hi, I'm Ella Dixon, and I play Marissa on Under the Bridge on Hulu. Be sure to watch Pop Culture with Pat. Good channel.